Dancing in the dark till the tune ends. We're dancing in the dark, and it soon ends. We're waltzing in the wonder of why we're here. Time hurries by, we're here, and we're gone, looking for the light of a new love to brighten up the night. I have you, love, and we can face the music together, dancing in the dark. What though love is old? What though song is old? Through them we can be young. Hear this heart of mine, well, and all the time, dear one, tell me that we're one. For the light of a new love to brighten up the night. I have you, love, and we can face the music together, dancing in the dark, dancing in the dark, dancing in the dark.
didn't hear you leave. I wonder how am I still here. I don't wanna move a thing. It might change my memory. Oh, I am what I am. I do what I want, but I
Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, on behalf of the family and on behalf of the Steckley-Gooderham Funeral Home, I'd like to welcome everyone here joining us today, either in person or at home via the live stream. Just before we get started, just have a couple announcements to be made. Firstly, if anyone has a cell phone, I just ask that you please place that on silent mode, just so that we don't have any kind of interruptions during the service. Secondly, just inside the lobby of the funeral home, right under the TV and right by the staircase, there's a memory jar set up. And that's really for the intent, if anyone here has a nice message or a phrase that they want the family to be aware of, you can write that down on a piece of paper, place it inside the memory jar, and that's something that they can reflect on afterwards. So if you have a few moments to please do so. We'll now listen to the first musical tribute and we'll proceed with the service. Thank you.
Again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the
Rabindranath Tagore wrote, "A death is not the extinguishing of a light, but the putting out of the lamp, because the dawn has come. Say not in grief that she is no more, but say in thankfulness that she was." Daniel's already asked, but if you can please just make sure that your cellular devices are turned to celebration of life mode, that would be greatly appreciated. My name is Reverend Kelly Blakely, and today I have the great honor of sharing this time with all of you. A time where we will express our gratitude for the life of Margaret Elizabeth Turner, affectionately known by all who loved her as Peggy. I want to thank Peggy's daughters, Susan, Catherine, Lorraine, and Barbara, for trusting me with today's celebration of life. And I want you to know that your mom was beyond proud of all of you and your families. Collectively, we will honor how deeply Peggy touched each of our lives and embrace the memories and love she so freely shared. Every person present today will have different memories of Peggy, and those memories will be held close to your hearts. Look for things around you that you can feel Peggy living on through, and hold on to those moments. She continues to be with us in spirit, and her light is always present. Peggy's life was filled with love, light, classical movies, good books, Sunday dinners with the best desserts, countless games of Scrabble, and of course, a nice glass of wine every now and again. She had a profound impact on all that she knew, and she lived her life with gratitude, positivity, and serving others. Many of Peggy's happiest memories revolved around her and her husband Roy's love of sailing. So I'd like to invite Allie to come up and share a reading with you.
The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame was one of Nanny's favorite books. When she and Granddad sailed, Nanny was Mole and Granddad was a rat. They named one of their sailboats Water Rat in honor of the story. Nanny even sketched a drawing of Mole and the rat from the book. Excerpts from Chapter 1, The Riverbank. When Mole and Ratty first meet, Mole has just given up cleaning his home as the spring weather is calling him outside. Mole thought his happiness was complete when, as he meandered aimlessly along, suddenly he stood by the edge of a full-fed river. Never in his life had he seen a river before. This sleek, sinuous, full-bodied animal, chasing and chuckling, gripping things with a gurgle and leaving them with a laugh, to fling itself on fresh playmates that shook themselves free and were caught and held again. All was a shake and a shiver, glints and gleams and sparkles, rustle and swirl, chatter and bubble. The mole was bewitched, entranced, fascinated. As he sat on the grass and looked across the river, a dark hole in the bank opposite, just above the water's edge, caught his eye. And dreamily he fell to considering what a nice, snug dwelling place it would make for an animal with few wants and fond of a bijou riverside residence, above flood level and remote from noise and dust. As he gazed, something bright and small seemed to twinkle down in the heart of it, vanished, then twinkled once more like a tiny star. But it could hardly be a star in such an unlikely situation, and it was too glittering and small for a glowworm. Then, as he looked, it winked at him, and so declared itself to be an eye. And a small face began gradually to grow up round it, like a frame round a picture. A brown little face with whiskers, a grave, round face with the same twinkle in its eye that had first attracted his notice. Small, neat ears, and thick, silky hair. It was the water rat. Then the two animals stood and regarded each other cautiously. "Hello, Mole," said the water rat. "Hello, Rat," said the Mole. "Would you like to come over?" inquired the rat presently. "Oh, it's all very well to talk," said the Mole, rather pettishly, he being new to a river and riverside life and its ways. The rat said nothing, but stooped and unfastened the rope and hauled on it, then lightly stepped on into a little boat, which the Mole had not observed. It was painted blue outside and white within, and was just the size for two animals. And the Mole's whole heart went out to it at once, even though he did not fully understand its uses. The rat sculled smartly across and made fast. Then he held up his forepaw as the Mole stepped gingerly down. "Lean on that," he said. "Now then, step lively," said the Mole. To his surprise and rapture, found himself actually seated in the stern of a real boat. "This has been a wonderful day," said he, as the rat shoved off and took to the sculls again. Do you know, I've never been in a boat before in all my life. What? Cried the rat, open mouth. Never been you never? Well, what have you been doing then? Is it so nice as all that? Asked the mole shyly, though he was quite prepared to believe it as he leant back in his seat and surveyed the cushions, the oars, the rowlocks, and all the fascinating fittings, and felt the boat sway lightly under him. Nice, it's the only thing, said the water rat, as he leant forward for his stroke. Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much worth doing as simply messing about in boats. Simply messing, he went on dreamily, messing about in boats, messing. Look ahead, rat, cried the mole suddenly. It was too late. The boat struck the bank full tilt. The dreamer, the joyous oarsman, lay on his back at the bottom of the boat, his heels in the air. About in boats or with boats, the rat went on composedly, picking himself up with a pleasant laugh. In or out of them, it doesn't matter. Nothing seems really to matter. That's the charm of it. Whether you get away, whether you don't, whether you arrive at your destination, or whether you reach somewhere else, or whether you never get anywhere at all. You're always busy, and you never do anything in particular. And when you've done it, there's always something else to do. And you can do it if you like, but you'd much better not. Look here, if you've really nothing else on hand this morning, supposing we drop down the river together and have a long day of it. The mole waggled his toes from sheer happiness, spread his chest with a sigh of full contentment, and he leant back blissfully into the soft cushions. What a day I'm having, he said. Let us start at once. And that's how water rat and mole met on the riverbank to begin a lasting friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. That was lovely. What a meaningful reading, and thanks for sharing the significance of it with us. As the spiritual care coordinator at Victoria Village Manor, one of my greatest joys is getting to know some of the residents who live there on a deeper level. Not all who live in long-term care are able to share with me, so when people like Peggy move in, I feel honored that I get to connect with them and share in the last part of their journey here on earth. It is said that the best classroom is found at the feet of an older person, and I honestly couldn't agree more. Peggy and I shared many conversations. Some were quick and light, others were deeper and more meaningful, but all of them were enjoyable, and I always left feeling happy. Peggy loves seeing my dog Cody. He's known as our spiritual care canine. If he wasn't with me during one of our visits, she always wanted to know how he was doing and made sure that I would bring him the next time I came. She was always engaged in our conversations, and we never found ourselves at a loss for words, which I'm sure isn't a surprise to anyone who knew how much she enjoyed playing Scrabble. Peggy's life has consisted of having to strategically place different pieces of her life as if on a Scrabble board. In some cases, she was adding to words she already had points for, and other times, she was creating new words as she moved along. The more difficult letters to play, the letters that everyone wants to play but can't always figure out how to play, like X and Z, those represent her passion for trying new things, trying things ahead of her time like yoga and Tai Chi. Some common or more easily used letters like the R, S, T, L, N, E, those represent her active lifestyle, spending many vacations with Roy on their sailboat and on long journeys, her time with the Land Army, and her long time volunteering at Etobicoke General Hospital, helping with clothing drives and raising a lot of money for the hospital. In a little bit, Catherine will be sharing some words of reflections about Peggy's life, so I don't want to talk too much about her accomplishments. But I am going to share with you some things from Peggy's Q words. Q, as most of you know, is considered by avid Scrabble players as the most valuable letter in the game. This is largely because it can score you some major points. And to me, that most valuable letter represents Peggy's love for her 4 daughters, Susan, Catherine, Lorraine, and Barbara, and all of their families. Peggy raised 4 strong, independent, and healthy daughters, all of whom had a very special relationship with their beloved mom. Susan shared with me some memories of watching old movies from the 40s with her mom. And during one of those movie nights, her mom told her about having to miss the end of many movies when she was in the Land Army, as her and her buddy Ellen had to catch the bus back to the lodgings just before the movies ended. When they did decide to stay at times for the ending, they would have to walk back in the dark. And on one particular evening, there were some sinister noises coming from a bush. Well, Ellen took off running, and Peggy was left there by herself. She was relieved to find out, though, that those noises ended up just being some sheep. Her mom's insights to sewing and knitting problems, playing Scrabble, talking about the past, and most of all, her caring manner are just a few of the things that Susan is going to miss most. Lorraine fondly remembers the way her parents would look at each other when they got dressed up to go to the company AGM. Sunday drives around the countryside and walks at the park on a lazy Sunday afternoon. When Lorraine hit her head and had to get stitches, she remembers her mom checking on her every 2 hours to make sure she was okay. She was her go-to person for comfort and advice, full of sage, wisdom, empathy, and common sense. And Lorraine knows that there was no one that can take her place. Barbara shared about her mom's sense of humor, her easygoing nature, sailing trips, and her love of desserts, especially chocolate cake. Barbara admired her mom for being ahead of the times with many things like yoga, healthy eating, a great fashion sense, and her outlook on life. She is going to miss her mom as her number one confidant, her smiles, hugs, and long talks. I haven't forgotten about Catherine. Catherine shared many memories of her mom with me, but I know she's going to come and share some of those memories with you shortly, so I'm going to let her do that. Before I invite Catherine up to share that piece of the Scrabble board, I wanted you all to know that as we look back on Peggy's life, we can see that all of the pieces she placed on the board came together to form a beautiful and unique story-like board game. At times, the letters she played might not have always been the highest scoring ones, but they were the ones that helped her to build the best possible life for herself and her family. She played her game the way she wanted to, landing on many double and triple word scores along the way. Though Peggy's life here on earth has ended, your relationships with her have not. There is no need to end things. She will forever be the same person in your heart. And she will always be with those who love her. Remember the fun times, her laugh, and definitely don't forget about all of the times that she beat you at that game of Scrabble. I'd now like to invite Catherine up to share some words.
Okay, deep breath. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today to honor our mom. It's very much appreciated by our family. I'd like to especially thank my daughter-in-law, Joanna, for the terrific slideshow. She put it together for Mom's 94th birthday, and the photos, as you've all seen, are truly beautiful. They'll be on display again during the reception if you've missed them. As well, I'd be remiss if I didn't express my family's gratefulness for the wonderful care our mom received while at Victoria Village Manor. The PSWs, the nurses, nurse practitioner, the doctor, and all the other staff were amazing with Mom and truly cared about her comfort and dignity. We're all born and we all die. It's what happens in between that's important, this life that we're given. Mom had a long life, 95 years. She could scarcely believe it herself, but she used her years well and did so much, had such a full life. Mum was born in Croydon, just south of London, England, in August 1927, to Violet Dorothy, who went by the name Dorothy, and Sidney Rackett. She had an older brother, Jim, an older sister, Dora, and then a younger brother, Roy. The family was happy, although life at the time wasn't always easy. In 1940, when Mum was 13, she and her brother, Roy, were evacuated to Devon. They lived with Frank and Lucy Bennett and their children, Frank and Renee. That's how Mum used to say it, Renee, on Winter's Farm. Mum told me a story of Renee's boyfriend cycling 10 miles on his bicycle held together with string to see Renee. Those were the days. Being city kids, Mum and Roy enjoyed their time in the countryside, and Mum was tasked with knitting oiled wool socks for the Navy and was paid 6 pence a pair. School was in a village hall with multiple grades in a shared space, which made learning difficult as the classes were different levels entirely, and Mum's education was spotty. That's Mum's word, as a result. Excuse me. Leaving school at 14, Mum went back home to South Norwood near London and worked for 3 years at Wetton Brothers in London, first as an office girl, then as a telephonist. When Mum was 16 and a half years old, she met my dad, Roy Turner, at her cousin Lily's house in Merston, Surrey. Dad was very smitten with Mum, and he used to ride his motorcycle from his home in Margate, Kent, to see Mum in South Norwood. Mum was not initially as taken with Dad as he was with her, and she wanted to help with the war effort. So, on October 17th, 1944, when Mum was 17, she joined the Women's Land Army. In her words, Mum spent 2 wonderful years serving her country and working the land. She was first billeted in a country house called Wixhelm in Gloucester, where she worked the fields for 4 months picking up cider apples, where it rained every day for the first 3 weeks. Mum then joined the apple spraying team and met Ellen, who was to become a lifelong friend. After the war ended, Dad persisted in pursuing Mum, and they were married June the 5th, 1948, and honeymooned on the Isle of Wight. Housing and jobs became what they were in post-war England. Dad was eager to do better for he and Mum, and they immigrated to Canada in 1951 with their first daughter, Susan, who was then 2 years old. Their arrival in Canada in the winter wasn't a hit with Mum, and as they lived in a basement apartment in London, Ontario, Mum wasn't very happy in Canada at first. Pregnant with me, Mum traveled back to England with Susan to see her Mum and Dad. I was born in Croydon in November 1952, and then Mum had to wait until I was 3 months old to travel back to Canada, which she did, with Susan and I in tow. Mum and Dad then moved with Susan and I to Scarborough, where they eventually bought a house at 99 Craigley Drive, quite near where Joanna and Greg live today. 2 more daughters, Lorraine and Barbara, were born in Scarborough. We always say that Mum kept trying for a boy, but it just wasn't to be. Mum made good friends of 2 neighbors in particular, Joan Mark and Betty Painter, while living on Craigley Drive. When Mum needed some private nursing care later on, one of the PSWs that came to help her was Betty Painter's daughter, Carolyn. It's such a small world. Many summer holidays were spent with Mum and Dad's close friends, Jean and Matt Cummins. Their family owned Cummins Cottages on Halls Lake in Halliburton, and I have many happy memories of lazy days at the cottage. Jean and Mac were to remain good family friends for most of our lives. In 1966, Mum and Dad bought a house on Indian Road in Mississauga, where Mum made good friends with 3 women who lived across the street. They got together weekly for coffee mornings and tea afternoons. Mum was an avid homemaker and also loved tending her gardens in both homes. In 1968, Mum and Dad bought their first sailboat, a 19-foot day sailor that they trailered down to Port Credit Harbor to sail on Lake Ontario. I remember vividly the trip across the lake one weekend. I'm sure Lorraine and Barbara do as well. I don't think Susan was with us on that trip, and you're lucky you missed that one. 5 people in a 19-foot sailboat, and on the way back, the weather changed. The wind came up along with the waves, and it was quite an exciting trip back, to say the least. Mum loved to sew, cook, clean, knit, oil paint, take Keep Fit classes and yoga classes. I did a lot of these things with her. I learned to sew in grade 7 at school, but Mum was the one who helped me stretch my horizons and tackle difficult projects. Mum and I took a tailoring course and made beautiful wool spring coats. Mum wore hers on a trip to England when I was 19. I'm not sure I ever finished mine, but I still do love sewing, as do my sisters. Mum and I went to the McMichael Gallery to sketch and then to paint Tom Thompson's cabin in the woods. Her painting was much more successful than mine, and it now hangs in my house at home. I've kept that as a memento of her. I also learned to cook from Mum. When Mum and Dad began sailing every weekend, they were often home late in the afternoon. I would cook dinner and have it ready for them when they arrived home, ensuring that I got the practice and everyone got a hot meal. Mum and Dad sold their Mississauga home so they could sail through the Intracoastal Waterway to Florida. They found this life hard on them. They had left it a little too late, and it's rather a shame. It was a dream of theirs. So they sold that boat and eventually bought a bungalow in Etobicoke, and their adventure continued. Mum loved her garden in Etobicoke and made it lovely. She also volunteered for the Etobicoke General Hospital in their consignment store called the Pink Ox, not OX, AUX, short for auxiliary, and pink as the volunteers wore pink smocks. Mum made many friends while volunteering and truly loved the work she did in the shop. She'd often come home with great finds for herself or for one of her daughters. Finally, it was time for Dad to retire, and as their love of sailing continued, a place by the water was what they wanted. They found a lovely house in Port Dover, Ontario, within walking distance of the Yacht Club Harbour, and they moved in. They enjoyed many years there. Mum had a large garden that she tended. She joined a Tai Chi group and practiced for many years in both Port Dover and when she moved to Barrie. She rode her bike to the stores and went for great country walks. Can I have that water? Sorry, I don't usually, well, I usually talk a lot, but I feel shy. Sorry. Our dad died August 1999 after a long battle with cancer. Mum cared for Dad during his final months, and she was amazing. When Dad died, Mum continued to live in their Port Dover house for many years and thrived. She bought her own car, and she loved driving around the back roads of the county. She put air conditioning into the house. She continued to garden, attend Tai Chi and tops, and to enjoy her friends. I do need to explain about tops. It stands for Take Off Pounds Sensibly. You might be wondering why a slim woman like Mum needed this. She didn't. She joined after meeting a TOPS member in a Port Dover cafe one day. The TOPS member explained to Mum that Mum should just come to a meeting as they were very social. Mum did so and became the only member of TOPS to be trying to put on pounds sensibly. They would all cheer when members lost weight and again when Mum gained. Mum had terrific neighbors in Port Dover, Laurie and Brian Doherty, who especially after Dad died were great at keeping an eye on Mum and helping her when needed. Gave us all great peace of mind. In May 2002, when Mum was 75, she and I went on a backroads country trip to Devon, Cornwall, and Wales. Mum had wanted to go back to England before she was too old to travel, so we did this together. The trip was wonderful. As Jesse was working in London at the time, we joined him for a day, and he guided us around the sights. It was lovely for Mum to see London through his eyes. The following day, we joined our tour. Excuse me. It was a small tour, only 5 people on a small bus, and our guide, Hugh, was able to structure it around what we wanted to see and what he thought we'd enjoy. One day, Hugh found Winter's Farm, and Mum was flabbergasted. That's the farm she was evacuated to when she was younger, like when she was 12 or something, I think. So the river she remembered as a child was a trickle, but she was thrilled to see the farmhouse. Mom also got to sit on a tractor that she drove in the Women's Land Army. We found it by accident in a farm museum in our travels. Mom relived so many memories on that trip, and I was glad to be with her to share them with her. Mom then broke her hip at the age of 88 and had to have a replacement. She came to convalesce for 3 months with Wilhelm and I in Newmarket. Then she went back to live in Port Dover for 1 year before she was accepted into Tollendale Village retirement living in Barrie, where she had a 2-bedroom apartment in a lovely area. Mum was still driving her little car, and it was great having her closer to us all. She loved visits with her daughters and their families, and was always up for a game of Scrabble, as you've heard, or cribbage. Scrabble she usually won, as she was a cunning strategist. Mum lived for 7 years at Tollendale until she developed eye challenges, glaucoma, some dementia, on top of her existing heart issue. Mum had eye surgery, and the care she required needed someone on site 24/7. So Mum moved in with Wilhelm and I for 3 months so that we could care for her. With Mum's worsening health and dementia and other factors, Mum was assessed for long-term care and was accepted into Victoria Village Manor. Although this wasn't what Mum or we wanted for her, Mum understood that she needed more care than we could provide. We were very pleased with the care that Mum received, and the staff, physician, and nurse practitioner developed a bond with Mum. They really enjoyed her spirit, her personality, and her sense of humor. Susan, Lorraine, Barb, and I visited frequently and did many crosswords and word puzzles with Mum. Mum spent almost a year at Victoria Village before her heart issues and old age took her away. As I said at the beginning, it's what happens in between that's important. The people you love, your friendships, the things you do, being kind and caring, doing good, these all matter. Our Mum was a wonderful mother, a loyal friend, an exceptional woman, a good example, and a teacher. She also knew how to have fun. We love her and we will miss her always. Now we'll listen to one of Mum's favorite hymns, Jerusalem, which is a poem by William Blake that was set to music by Hubert Perry. The words are on the back page of the program if anybody would like to sing along, and if you'd like to sing along, please do.
Thank you, Catherine, for your lovely words and beautiful tribute to your loving mom. What an amazing life she had. I'd now like to invite Jessie up to the front.
Won't be that long, I promise. Nice to see everyone here today. When I was asked to say something today about Peggy, I started to think of the great memories that we had together over the last 40 years. My earliest memories of Peggy are of the time we spent with her husband Roy in Port Dover. Family dinners, stories about sailing trips, and more recently, speaking on the phone of the comparisons between the COVID lockdowns and the bombings in London, which she confessed that some of the restrictions on the lockdowns were tougher than her experiences during the war. When preparing to do my tribute, I decided to look up the name Peggy or Margaret in the dictionary and found out the name originates from a Greek word that means pearl. I then looked up the definition of pearl and found that a pearl is classified as a gemstone, which is extremely unique, largely due to the fact that they're the only gem material formed and found in a living creature. Unlike diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and more, pearls require no cutting or polishing before use and are simply stunning the way they naturally form. I also looked to the Bible, in which pearls are used to symbolize God's love and grace. Pearls are pure, beautiful, and rare, just like God's love of his children. They can also represent our own purity and beauty before him. Pearls are also a symbol of wealth and royalty, which reminds us that God treasures us more than anything else. When thinking of Peggy, I think of her love of her children. Her purity and beauty stand out as true attributes of the person that she was. When you look around the room and our family tree, you will see that females are central to the families, and Peggy was on top of that pyramid. Peggy had 4 strong, independent daughters, Lorraine, Barb, Sue, and Catherine, who I know she was very proud of. This is a testament to her patience and hard work as a mother. Personally, Kate and I have been blessed with 2 beautiful girls ourselves, Peggy's great-granddaughters, Tori and Libby, who affectionately called her great-grandma Piggy through their toddler years. Parenting in general, but I feel parenting girls specifically, is both challenging and extremely rewarding all at the same time. Peggy rose to this challenge, and you can see the rewards in the room today. As we say goodbye to Peggy, we remember the countless memories she shared with all of us, the laughter, the tears, the moments of joy that will be treasured forever. We honor the legacy she leaves behind and the values she instilled in her daughters, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren, knowing that they will carry her memory with them always. To Lorraine, Barb, Sue, and Catherine, know that your mother's love and spirit will live on through you. May her strength, kindness, and grace guide you always, and may the memories of her love bring you comfort during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessie. Those were beautiful words. Before we release Peggy's ashes and wish her well on her next journey, I wanted to share this poem by Henry Scott Holland with you titled, "Death is Nothing at All." Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we live so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air or solemnity of sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just round the corner. All is well, nothing is hurt, nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again. I'd like to ask you all to please stand. Peggy is safe. She is already through the barrier and comforted by the reconnection with her husband Roy, parents Violet, Dorothy, and Sydney, and many others who have already made the journey before her. She is free to another reality, to experience whatever joy awaits her there, but for us, it is important to say this final farewell to her ashes, and we commit them to their natural end. Peggy, we are now the representatives and the ambassadors of your legacy. You gave us wonderful gifts of kindness, graciousness, strength, acceptance, and love. We will be kind and patient with one another as we grieve. Peggy, we bless you, wish you well, and thank you for being a part of our life. We will not forget you. We will continue to build on the Scrabble words of our own lives, and we will hold our memories of you close to our hearts. We honor your life on earth, and we wish for you peace ever after. Go well, Peggy. Spread your wings as you go, and as God takes you back, we'll say, hallelujah, you're home. Until we meet again. You may be seated. We have been remembering with love and gratitude a life that was important and honoring life itself. You may ask, what can I do to mark this moment? You can honor Peggy by offering help, support, and love to those who remain. You can allow them to cry, to grieve, to laugh, and to remember. Each person's grief takes its own time and is an individual journey, but it is easier with friends and family who allow it to be what it needs to be. You can honor your own feelings, and you can bless each day that you live and live it in the fullest, in honor of both life itself and of our dear Peggy. On behalf of Peggy, I wanted to have something for you to keep with you as a reminder of her. Knowing Peggy and hearing from Peggy's family about how much she loved playing Scrabble, I have blessed some individual Scrabble pieces in Peggy's name and hope you will smile and remember her whenever you come across the piece you choose and take home with you today. Right now, I have 4 special pieces I would like to present to Susan, Catherine, Lorraine, and Barbara. She whom we love and lose is no longer where she was. She is now wherever we are. Peggy's family would like to invite you to join them for some light refreshments and time for connection after the service. And you can all choose a Scrabble piece from the table at the back as you make your way to the reception space. They're just going to be on the table just by the door. But before we go, I wanted to leave you with some words I feel that Peggy herself would have wanted to share with you. The cares of the world concern me no longer. I have completed this life. My work is done, and the children of my heart are grown. My family is well on their journey and happy and healthy in their pursuits. I have loved much. I have lived well. I have laughed often. To those I leave behind, I hope I will remain in your hearts as you will in mine. Thank you to my family for taking such good care of me. And to all of you who have been my friends, thank you for teaching me about life and about love. Keep reaching for those double and triple word scores, and for heaven's sake, stay for the end of all the good movies. I leave you with this song because I truly believe we'll meet again. If you can please stand for the final song.
I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny
Well, it's not far down to paradise, at least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away and find tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles, just you wait and see.